الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده أما بعد. Inshallah ta'ala, we start with our lesson on fasting. So there are certain things that would nullify the fast. We talk about that today, inshallah ta'ala, briefly, but we will cover some principles around it next week. So to break the fast is a grave sin. We all are aware of that, and there is a big penalty for that. If one breaks the fast, there are two scenarios, two possible penalties. Either they have to make up for that fast only, which means if they have broken one fast, they would just make up for that fast at a later date. Or they may have to make up for that fast plus extra penalty, plus extra kafara. We call the penalty is called kafara. So we say kafara. Kafara means expiation, the compensation, and qada is just makeup, to make up the loss. So you have broken your fast, or you couldn't fast for whatever reason, you have to make up for that fast. And if you have done certain violations, then you would have to make up for that fast plus a penalty for breaking that fast. So the qada is to keep one fast in place of the one missed or broken intentionally. Whereas kafara is to fast for 60 days continuously. So that's a big penalty. 60 fasts continuously. And there are certain other options for certain people, not for everyone. To feed 60 people, for example, or give one person 60 meals. But that is not for everyone, but rather one who is able to fast should fast 60 days, and this is consecutive 60 fasts. So you started off from day 1, and then when you were fasting on day 59 or 58 or even whatever day you skipped or you couldn't fast on that day, then you have to start over again. So that's a big penalty. That is why it is very important for people to understand this, that they shouldn't even think about breaking the fast unless they have got a very serious Shari'i excuse, a religious excuse to break their fast. And that should only be done after consultation with a scholar and a medical personnel. Inshallah ta'ala, that way, even if he breaks it for a legitimate reason, there would be no kafara, but rather only a qada, a make-up fast at a later date. Now, what one has is an option in situation where one had a valid reason to break that fast. That is what I mentioned. They can feed and give just wheat and other stuff, but that's for those people who had a valid reason to break their fast. Now, who needs to do qada alone? What are the things that would nullify your prayer in such a way you just have to make up for the fast? You do not have any extra penalty. So anyone who is forced to eat something, so he was fasting and someone else forced the food down his throat, either physically, directly, or by using a gun or some other means to say that you have to have it, and he was forced to eat it. He was forced to drink something. Obviously, he would have his fast nullified, yet he would only be compensating by fasting one day at a later date. He is not penalized for that. Likewise, if someone was gargling in wudu or having shower, he knew that he is fasting, but he was gargling in such a way that he became a little bit, you know, unaware, and he had a small amount of water. Knowingly that he was fasting, a small amount of water went down the throat. A small amount of water, or even large amount, doesn't matter, whatever, accidentally he swallowed the water, knowing that he is fasting. So since this was an accident, rather than his willingness to break his fast, so it was sort of involuntary breaking of fast, although with silly action in this case, trying to gargle deeply, which we shouldn't be doing during Ramadan, during fasting hours. We shouldn't be sniffing water deep up the nose. We shouldn't be gargling deep down there. Just have a small amount of water to fulfill the sunnah of gargle in the mouth and then spit it out. You don't have to take it all the way to the back. Even for ghusl, just do a little bit. Don't go too deep down. Inshallah ta'ala, that would give you enough reward for sunnah and would save you from accidentally having the water down the throat and hence breaking it. Likewise, to vomit mouthful intentionally. Intentionally. So if someone wanted to put a finger down because they feel so full and feel very sick, they cannot hold it and they have to put a finger down the throat to vomit it all out. If what they vomited was big enough to fill their mouth, hence it is a mouthful, then that would nullify their fast and they would have to make up only. So if they had a small amount of vomitus, intentionally, not mouthful, but intentionally, a small amount came, but they swallowed it back. How do you know that this is big amount or small amount? If you could not hold it, if you could not hold in your mouth and you had to open your mouth to let it go, to let it project outside, then that is a mouthful vomiting. You do not have to measure it. All you need to know is whether could you hold it in your mouth or not. If you couldn't, then it was a mouthful vomiting, and if done intentionally, it would nullify your wudu. If it was done unintentionally, but you swallowed some stuff back knowingly, then that would be a problem as well. That would nullify the wudu, not the vomiting itself, because for fast to be broken, fast to be nullified, one has to have something going inside the stomach, not coming out of the stomach. That is why it doesn't nullify your fast if it was unintentional or if it was small amount. Obviously, if you swallowed it back, then that is the food particle going back inside the stomach. And swallowing intentionally something which is not edible, something that is not normally eaten by human being, a piece of paper, for example, a pebble. So we do not use that as food or medicine. So you swallowed it. That was not a food particle, hence it would though nullify your wudu or your fast, but you still will be only liable for qada. You have to just make up one fast. You do not get any penalty of fasting 60 fast in a row because it wasn't a food particle. It was something other than food. No, nutrition value to it or medicine value to it. Now, if someone has something stuck between the teeth during suhoor and it was very small, but one took it out and swallowed it back. So you took it out from between the teeth, had a look at that, it was a small amount, bigger than a grain but not too big, then you took it back accidentally or knowingly. So if you took it back, it would nullify your fast, whether it was a small amount or large amount. If you just swallowed from inside the mouth between the teeth, and that happened to be smaller than the grain, then it would not nullify your fast. But if it was bigger than a grain, which is like in a small grain of, say, rice or a wheat, so a small amount of food particle smaller than a grain, even if you intentionally swallowed it because it was stuck between the teeth, it would not nullify your fast, but you shouldn't be doing it. It is not done thing. And sometimes you might not know what was the size or misjudge it. But if you took that small piece out and then swallowed back in, put that back in your mouth, so something has gone from outside into the inside, would nullify your fast, whether it was a small amount or large amount. Now, putting oil in the ear. Traditionally, the scholars would say that it would nullify your fast. And that was because the medical doctors in those days would tell them that there is a connection between your ear, middle ear or internal ear, to the stomach. And now we know unless there is a breakage, there is a tear, there is a break in the wall, in the middle ear, in that septum there, you would not have any connection from the ear down to the throat. So there's no connection with that to the stomach, directly or indirectly. Hence, putting oil in the ear should ideally not break your fast. Well, we come to that in detail when we discuss what constitutes a valid entry point, what are the stuff that could go in, where should it reach before it nullify the fast. But that will be a matter of discussion next week because there's a lot more detail to it, and that would help people understand the rationale behind allowing certain things but not certain other things. So anyway, contemporary scholars would say that you do not need to worry about water going in the ear or oil in the ear, although traditionally you would find the books of fiqh would say that it would nullify your fast. But it doesn't, because the theory has changed. The advancement in medical science would confirm that there is no connection whatsoever with the stomach. So inshallah ta'ala, there should be no concerns. But if someone wants to be on the cautious side, it would be highly recommended, and it's better inshallah ta'ala, because as I mentioned before, the scholars of the past, they had a lot more piety and zuhud and connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala due to the time difference, due to the time that they used to live in. So even when they had something which is not technically right, there is some blessing to be had through that. So staying with their view tends to be much more meritorious at a barakah level point. Not talking about haram and halal or fiqhi point, but from the barakah side of things, there is some barakah to be had in following those pious people, inshallah ta'ala, without making it a shari ruling. Now, if someone inhale through the nostril, obviously, that would nullify your fast, but you still have to only make up for one fast. You do not need to do kafara, which is penalty. You do not have to have kafara for that, because normally the stuff is small and it has not gone from the normal orifice of food, even if someone swallowed something there. It would not cause you to have a penalty. Rather, it would just break your fast and you would have to have a missed fast makeup to be done at a later date. Now, if the there's bleeding gums or bleeding from between the teeth or mouth or wherever, a small cut, if the blood is more than the saliva, and how do you know if you spit it out? It changes the color. The color of saliva turns pinkish. Then you know there is more blood which is flowing, and hence, if you swallowed it back from in the mouth, so you're bleeding, you're tasting it, and you feel that there is bleeding happening, and you swallowed that, then that would nullify your fast, and you would have to just do a qada. To eat or drink forgetfully without realizing that he was fasting, it doesn't nullify your fast. You all know that. If you accidentally eat, that would nullify your fast. Accidentally mean that you knew it, but you just was not cautious enough. So you knew that. So as you're playing with your friend, and the friend say, I can swallow it. I'm eating it, and then friend, it happened to me as a child. I could remember. That's why I can narrate this to you. So this friend of mine, he challenged me to say that you can't swallow it. It will nullify your. I said, yeah, I'm not swallowing, but I can only hold it in my mouth. So I just held it between my finger and thumb, and just showing it. If I just do it like this, as a small kid, I was about maybe 9, I think. If I hold it like this, it doesn't nullify. And he was like, even if you bring close to your mouth, it nullifies your fast. So in the school, we were just debating this. I had a small piece of, I think, was some sweet of some sort. Maybe some I can't remember, Smartie or something. So I just held it in my mouth, between my finger and thumb, not even touching the tongue. And then when I was doing it, he just pushed me. He just pushed my hand. So obviously, it fell off, and I just swallowed it. So that was accident. I knew that I was fasting, but it would nullify my fast based on the fact that I did it accidentally. But obviously, I do not need to do the penalty of kafara, but rather only making a fast. So accidentally breaking your fast would break your fast, and you have to make up a fast afterwards. But forgetfully, this is the gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, and Sharia tells us, that if someone who is weak and he's eating, and you know that he's been very, very weak and thirsty and tired, and he happened to be eating something, let him eat. And if someone young, not very weak, still okay, tell him that you're fasting. Remind him that you're fasting. And for weak, elderly person, let him be. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is feeding him. So if you did that, and then you didn't know that it actually hasn't nullified your prayer, you did it accidentally. But after that, you say, oh, since I already ate something and I had a glass of water and I broke my fast, let me have my meal now. So that was done intentionally, but due to lack of understanding that my forgetfully eating or drinking did not nullify my fast, I should have continued with my fast. Since I didn't know, I ate something deliberately now would nullify my fast, but it would not amount to penalty of 60 fasts. Only one fast to be made up afterwards. And likewise, to eat or drink after subh sadiq, which is when we should stop our eating our sahari in the morning, or you just ate thinking it's just about time of breaking fast, but you did it a minute, 2 minutes, few minutes before that, because it was cloudy. You thought the sun has set, or your alarm clock was 5 minutes ahead, and you thought, it's actually the time. So you did it, and you realize, oh my goodness, I did it a minute, 10 second, 15 second, a few minutes earlier. That would nullify your fast, obviously, but you would not be penalized. You just have to make up for one missed fast. Likewise, if someone was engaged in sexual thought, which he shouldn't be in Ramadan, obviously, but if it happened and someone got aroused by that and happened to have ejaculation, which is he got himself relieved or discharged then, and even if someone is married and he happened to be in a relationship with the wife without intercourse, just the kissing, and with that he happened to ejaculate, that would nullify his fast, but he would need to only make qada for that. Okay. And another point, important point is any fast other than Ramadan, if one even breaks intentionally other than Ramadan, whether there was a reason or not, a valid reason or invalid reason, you do not have kafara. So the kafara, which is 60 fast consecutively, is only for intentionally breaking a fast without excuse in Ramadan. Okay, so keep that in mind. Outside of Ramadan, you do not get a penalty of 60 fast. Now, that was only one fast for one missed or breaking fast at a later date, a qada. Here you have to do qada now in this situation, and also a kafara. A kafara means to fast 60 consecutive days. So what are these situations? Eating or drinking intentionally, which you know, everyone knows that if you knowingly eat or drink that you're fasting, you're just breaking it, or even taking medicine intentionally, you would have to do that. Now, all of that, unless there is a reason, if there was a good reason for doing that intentionally, for example, someone is passing out, someone has got so low a blood sugar due to fasting, and or whatever reason they were unwell, and the doctor say that you need to fast, you need to break your fast now because you're so unwell. We have to give you this medication to get your sugar level up a bit, or we need to give you this medicine for such a condition, that, or you've got asthma, you have to break your fast because you have to take this asthma pump. And likewise, if there is a medical reason for that, or there's a need for that, if someone is really so hungry and thirsty that they are about to pass out, then if they consult someone and then they say yes, you can break your fast, inshallah ta'ala, for them there will be only qada. But there is no excuse and someone just does it, then they have to do qada plus kafara. Likewise, having intercourse, whether they had ejaculation or not, whether they released themselves or not, just mere penetration of male organ with the female organ's front passage, then it would amount to qada and kafara both. Okay. Likewise, applying kohol or oil in the hair. So you were doing, so that is what, and then you think, oh, perhaps with the kohol, with the surma, with my what you call the surma, I think it's surma, I don't know what you call it in English. It's something that you put eyeliner inside the eye. If you used it or rub the oil on your head and you think that it has broken my fast, which is something that is known to everyone, and there's no situation where you think the oiling your head would nullify your fast, then after that you ate or drink, then you would have to pay kafara as well. It means that you should know this much, because there's nothing gone, nothing food particle or nothing has gone inside anywhere. It's just outside of the body. But I'm actually thinking in modern time, maybe there are people who might not even know this much. Okay, so inshallah ta'ala, we'll leave it there so that we can cover the rest. Those are the only situation. Having sexual relationship, eating or drinking something, or medicine. And that are the only thing. Otherwise, you just have to do qada, but not kafara. May Allah give us tawfiq to understand and then act upon Sharia. Basic knowledge of Sharia, to acquire it is a requirement. We must try our best to learn deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.